why you need to have at least 2 trusts. Not having trusts are the biggest mistake that you can make. Trusts are critical to building and protecting your wealth. So you want to make sure that you've got the right structure in place when you are building a property portfolio. So few people understand why a trust should be used in your property investment structure and why trusts are so important. But you actually need to have 2 trusts in place. You need a family trust. Now, your family trust is a place where you preserve wealth. It's a no risk or a low risk trust. And the main purpose of the family trust is to protect assets. Then you have the holdings trust, and the holdings trust serves one very important function, and that is to hold shares in companies that own your properties. So let's make sure we understand this correctly. You've got a family trust, you've got a holdings trust, and then you have your property companies underneath owned by your holdings trust. So when you acquire property, you want to buy your property in companies, but you want a separate holdings trust to hold the shares in those property companies. When money flows, it is important to understand how the flow of funds should look like. So when you want to push money into your property investment portfolio, you will always first pay money from your bank account to your family trust's bank account. We will allocate that as a donation for you and your spouse to the maximum amount that we are allowed or that we have exemption for to donate per year. Then the rest we will allocate as a loan account to your family trust. You will then pay all of that money over from your family trust bank account to your holdings trust bank account, and from your holdings trust bank account to your property company's bank account. And all of these will be allocated as loans in the books. Now your money is sitting in your property company, and you can acquire your property investments in your property company. Let's discuss why you should have a trust structure in place and what are the reasons why structuring is so important. The first reason is asset protection. You want to make sure that your assets are protected, and that is why you cannot just have one trust, because if all your assets are in one trust and something goes wrong, you could still lose everything that is in that trust. So you want a separate family trust where you move all your personal assets to, and then you want a holdings trust to hold the shares in your property company, so that if something ever goes wrong, everything is protected. Remember, as an individual, you will most likely sign surety for the properties that you are acquiring. This means that if you ever default on a payment on your property investment that you've acquired, creditors can come after you personally. That is why you should have no assets in your own name, and that is why the family trust is so important, because all of your personal assets will be held in a separate trust, your family trust, where it can be protected and where creditors cannot reach it. Watch our YouTube video on why you need a separate family trust. Remember that Prosperity Enterprises can help you with your trust structuring, so book your one-on-one consultation with us. The second reason why trust structuring is so important is financing capability. Do you know that it is possible to get significantly more financing? In other words, be able to buy significantly more properties in an entity than in your own name? What are the reasons for that? When you are buying property in your own name, a certain set of rules apply. When you are buying property in an entity, a different set of rules apply. Not only do the banks now look at you and your affordability, but they also look at the entity and the performance of the entity. So, when you want to build a property empire, do not even buy one property in your own name. Make sure that you buy your properties in an entity. The third reason then for why structuring is so important are the tax benefits. When you invest in property and you have the right structure in place, you will pay significantly less in tax. How will that structure look like? We said you will have the holdings trust and then a property company underneath the holdings trust. And the property company will acquire the properties. Now, the reason why we structure it like this is because the tax rate of a company is significantly lower than for most individuals and also for a trust. So, you are going to have a company that owns the properties. You are going to receive the rental income in your property company. You are going to pay your interest your levies, your rates and taxes and all your expenses out of that company, and if you make any profit, that profit will be taxed at a much lower rate. But with a trust, you also have the conduit principle. So, if you ever do decide to sell your entire property company, you can do that out of your trust, and those capital gains can come to your trust, and from your trust you can distribute that to the beneficiaries, which means that the beneficiaries' tax exemptions will apply and their tax rates would apply, and that means also that you will pay significantly less in taxes. The last reason that I want to discuss why structuring is so important is for estate planning. Do you know that it is expensive to die? There are enormous costs on death, and you can eliminate those costs by making sure that you've got the correct structure in place and by making sure that trusts own all your assets. So, when your assets and your companies are owned in trusts, when you die, the value of those assets and companies and all the properties in those companies do not form part of your deceased estate. That means that you are not going to pay estate duties, capital gains tax, executive fees, or transfer fees when you die one day. So making sure that your structure is correct helps you with asset protection, it helps you with financing capability, it helps you with tax benefits, and lastly, it helps you with estate planning. If you like this content and would like to receive more of it, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.